Alright, YouTube, you gonna cooperate with me today? Yes, you are! Thank you very much. Greetings, everyone! I am Dr. J, and I am officially out of work for the rest of the year. Which means I have all the time in the world to throw at video editing, all the time in the world to mill about as I please, and all the time in the world to, hopefully, blaze through the remainder of this game. I'm hoping to finish it before the year is out, but I suppose we shall see. First things first, how did I miss this? Did I mess with this last? I don't know. Let's give myself a little bit of survival, but let me think. What to go with? Suppose I could always bolster my damage against something specific. Actually, wait. Technically, I'm only using one weapon. That should work. Alrighty. So, it's been a few weeks since I last played. Based on my understanding, I need to earn divine favors. So that means I have to go around reading pretty much everything I can regarding the gods to be sure that I fully understand what it is that I need to do for each one. So we'll pick up something from each. So we'll pick up pretty much everything, read it thoroughly. So this will probably be the night of reading then. And based on that, we will then dig in to this. Okay, so that's how I create a specific people then. Let's see, a piercing ring fills your ears as you name near a wild shrine. There's no other response. Curious. Nothing happens when you approach Boudica's shrine. Alright then. So now that we've got all these books, let's start digging. Let's see. Final Journey of Jonas. My son. Tomorrow I become the effigy. Tomorrow I become Skane's embodiment on Aora. Tomorrow my master chokes on his own whip. For months we met by secret conclave to plot our landlord's demise, all the while working the fields as if our hearts were content. Skane teaches us to plot with the mind while keeping one's face impassive, inscrutable. Fair fights are for those with armies. The quiet slave is our whetstone, our focus. In his worship, our cause finds focus, clarity, and possibility. Tomorrow, my master chokes on his whip. By the time you read this, I will be dead. I pray Skane does not abandon me for speaking of my plotting, but a son deserves to know how his father died. For I had volunteered to be the effigy. Skane will inhabit my body, using this old farmer's simple flesh as a puppet of godly rage. I have been shaved and anointed. Tomorrow morning, I will be your father in name only, as my manhood will be removed, my nose and ears removed, and my useless mortal eyes will be replaced with flintstones through which Skane might see the world. My son, I am sorry for the lies I have told you these past few seasons, but Skane demands secrecy. Even your mother knows nothing of my furtive service to the quiet slave. Curse my name if you must, but never weep for me. For I died for the betterment of our community, to smite our lord's corruption from the face of Aora. Tomorrow my master chokes on his own whip, for tomorrow I become the effigy. Alright, so that's... Alright, so is there anything else in here specifically related to Skane? So there's Barath, Eothas, Andra, Rimmergrand, Galawain, Abaddon, Mogren, let's see, Hylia, Boudica. Okay, so that's all that I'm getting with respect to Skane. I'm assuming I can't talk with Skane yet, though. Yeah, it doesn't look like I can talk to Skane, looking at that. So, who can I talk to? Rimmergand, I think, is one I saw. Where's Rimmergand? Here we are. Young students are often confused by Barath and Rimmergand's seemingly overlapping roles in holding dominion over death. Barath oversees the cycle of life, death, and rebirth. Rimmergand oversees the cold, destructive act of death itself. This difference is often difficult for novices to appreciate until they've lost a loved one and endured the absence for a time. It is Barath that determines we will be reborn, just as certainly as we will die. But Rimmergand is the executioner's axe. Rimmergand shows us that all life ends in stillness. I need only show them the symbol of Rimmergand, the bone-white aurochs skulls found carved within the most ancient of Engwithan ruins. It is a symbol of death and doom in every culture. Any child with 4 winters under his belt needs no introduction to the ancient symbol. Rimmergand embodies not just death, but all manifestations of collapse, be they famine, plague, or simply bad luck. Rimmergand is a primal god, silent and inscrutable as death itself. He makes himself known with his passing, not by proclamation. There are innumerable stories of the god's terrifying passage through the lands of Eora. When the beast of winter stirs, bitter winds and beastly howls follow the creature's every move. Whenever the beast plants a hoof, all life withers into dust. The faithful of Rimmergand insist that even another god's life can end in stillness. They claim the other gods must flee from the beast of winter's mastery over death. But we know not if this boast holds true. Though the beast of winter is shrouded in snowy clouds, those who have seen the shaggy white monster claim that the souls of the fallen can be seen clinging or perhaps frozen to the beast's fur. The dwarves of the Boreal South have numerous stories that tell a similar plot. A brash hero seeks out the beast of winter to rescue the souls trapped in its fur. These tales never end well, for even if the hero saves his beloved soul, the hero dies in the process, for it is not a proper tale of Rimmergand until the hero's life ends in stillness. So Rimmergand seems like a dangerous one to consort with, as it were. Definitely gonna want a quick save before then. Then again, I had just started, but still, you get the point. The ritual words. All life ends in stillness. You feel a sudden gust of cold air, as if the shrine were bursting into wintry life. The frigid wind cuts through you like a sharpened blade, and darkness encroaches upon the edges of your sight. You kneel and close your eyes. As you pray, the blackness fades to white, and a howling wind fills your ears. The vision that slowly resolves itself is of a broad, frozen plain. You see a procession of elves in the distance, periodically fading into and emerging from the whiteness. They trudge over snowbanks, their heads down against the driving winds. I know this place. This is the light that wends. As they trek past you, one man bundled in fur turns his head. You headed for Noonfrost and the Frosttomb Reach too? Before you can answer, he slumbered ahead. You follow the caravan, and in a couple of minutes, you come to a wall of ice. It disappears into the pale emptiness overhead, and stretches as far as you can see in either direction. The elves stop in front of a mirror-smooth section that's framed like a temple door. It seems somewhat thinner than the rest of the wall. You can't see what's on the other side, but a debilitating coldness emanates from within. The elves pull pickaxes and shovels from their sealskin packs, and begin hacking at the smooth ice, their implements flying through the air in swift, shining arcs. Though they throw their bodies into the labor, not one of them so much as scratches the polished ice. Yet with each blow, something bellows in the distance. Whatever that is, it's huge, and angry. Sagani squints into the whiteout, and it's coming our way. Adair calls out to the elves, "Hey, you might want to hold off on that." But that howling wind seems to swallow up his voice. Palagina's head whips around to see where the bellowing is coming from. "Forget about the elves. We need to be ready to move." She turns again to face you, flexing her hands in the cold air. "Or fight." The elves hack away, seemingly oblivious to the furious lowing, and to the tremors under your feet. The snow has risen to your knees. Your legs feel frozen in the drift. You grab the nearest elf by her shoulder, shaking her head and yelling over the howling winds. You point in the direction of the booming noise, but she only scowls. "Leave us, traveler. We've got to get through. We can't stay on this side any longer." "Listen, you're anchoring something very big. You'd better stop." The elf strains to listen, As she rests her pick in the mounting snow, some of her fellows pause in their labor. A man with a withered, frostbitten finger turns. He raises his maimed hand, and the others stop as well. They stand motionless for several seconds before you realize they've frozen entirely. You touch the elf nearest to you, and it crumbles into a mound of snow. A final gale blows past, scattering the remains of the elves in a chaotic fury. You notice a single spiderweb crack in the smooth barrier. It's the only thing that mars the perfect surface of the ice. Whatever's on the other side of the strange doorway, you feel it tugging at you. Only when you look back and see the parallel gashes trailing behind your legs in the snow, do you realize how strong the pull is.
My end comes to all things in time. Seal the frost-hewn breach, and instruct the pilgrims in the patience of Remergond.
A deep whisper creaks from the crack. As quiet as it is, it shakes the ground beneath your feet. Let's use my finger. You stick your finger into the hole and feel a stinging cold. You yank your hand back, but the finger snaps off and remains wedged in the crack. A hoary rime instantly grows over the smooth surface of the frozen doorway, fusing it with the rest of the wall. A crystal of ice grows from your frozen stub. As you examine it, the vision around you fades, and your finger rises from the stump, but a shard of unmelting ice remains in your palm. Glowing ice shard. It's a quest item of some kind. Remergond gave you this jagged ice crystal when you prayed to him at Ter Evron. It's supposed to control the frost-hewn breach in Noonfrost. The shard glows with cool blue light. It hasn't melted at all since you received it. One down. Actually. Can I go again? I guess not. Alright, who's next? Galawain. Here we are. When Midi students ask to be taught the way of Galawain, I tell them they have already failed. Does one ask a deer to present itself at dinner? Of course not. One must outwit, outmaneuver, and overpower the deer if one dreams of venison. So it is with the Seeker God. To ask a question is weakness and idle indecision. To seek answers is to understand, and to become one with Galawain. Survival begins with strength from within. But I only strike my students when they ask the second stupid question, for all of us begin young and weak. It is a point of fact, and not one of shame, and a central tenet to Galawain's teachings. Perseverance and cleverness are prized by Galawain above brute force, a fact my young pups often forget. It is right and proper that the strong lead the weak, and it is equally proper that the strong be continually tested until the balance changes. Galawain celebrates the strength of the victor and the prowess of the well-fed predator, but above all, the clever hound celebrates the transformative nature of strength. Galawain's greatest desire for us is that prey becomes predator. Fueling babes grow into strong hunters, and the lost find their own enlightenment. The philosophy is best exemplified by the rites of the Anamphada of Glanfath. When one of the Glanfathan spiritual leaders is old and nearing death, it is customary to enter the woods and confront Galawain's herald. If the Seeker God finds that Anamphad's life, deeds, and soul worthy, the reward is a quick death, and his soul joins Galawain's pack. If deemed unworthy, the Anamphad is killed, his soul forced to find its own way to the next life, and his memory erased from the records of the tribe. Survival begins with strength from within, and weak leaders endanger the whole pack. This is Galawain at his purest. Even at the end of life, one must struggle for worthiness, for greatness, just as one must struggle every day to feed his pack. The Seeker God is easy to understand if one actively engages in the quest for knowledge, but his secrets are self-occluding to those who merely ask, desiring knowledge without the requisite hunt. My own flesh and blood once asked me, "Will learning to hunt please Galawain?" I told him yes, but added, "Galawain would prefer that you hunt to learn." So, he's focused on learning and growing stronger then, by facing the struggle of life. Survival begins with strength from within. The air around you stirs, and a gust of warm wind blows across the back of your neck. You catch the faintest smell of wet earth. As you kneel in front of the shrine, you feel yourself pushed forward. You catch yourself on your hands and knees, feeling warm, damp ground beneath them. Looking around, you find yourself crouched in a clearing in the middle of the woods. The smell of dirt hangs heavy in the air. Behind you is a darkened room filled with candlelit shrines. Ahead, you hear the howl of some kind of hound. You feel certain that this is a vision, but the hairs on the nape of your neck still rise. Let's howl back. The beast bays in response, its voice high and clear. The thick undergrowth shivers with movement, and heavy paws pound the wet grass. You're not certain if the creature is hunting or leading you, but you instinctively give chase. As you tumble through dew-spackled bushes and clawing brambles, each stride feels longer than the last. You draw lungfuls of crisp, clean air and feel your energy renewed. The rhythm of your stride and the thumping of the beast's paws drive the blood thrumming into your ears. You speed ahead, following the hound's cries, when a split-finger pine crashes to the ground in front of you. A massive bear lunges into the gap and roars. It catches sight of you. You turn and race in the opposite direction, leaping over the fallen tree trunk. Pine cones crunch underneath. The bear lumbers after you. Its hot breath washes over the back of your neck, filling your nose with a rank odor of slaughter. You see a clearing just past a thicket of broad leaves and sprint toward it. As you break through the foliage, you see a massive lioness curled up in the clearing in front of you. With a last burst of energy, you divert your momentum and hurl yourself into the bushes. Any second now, you expect to feel the bear fall upon you, but a furious roar on the other side of the clearing draws your attention. The bear is stopped at the tree line. It swipes the empty air with claws large enough to rend armor, but it does not advance. The lioness, for her part, twists her body into a tight coil. She growls, her ears pressed against her head, but she makes no move to attack the intruder. Sagani murmurs to you under her breath, "At this point I've hunted all over the world, and I've never seen predators like these." You back deeper into the foliage, keeping your eyes on the two mighty predators. As you crawl backwards, the heel of your hand brushes something furred. A warm sigh grazes your cheek. You freeze in place, slowly turning your head to see what waits behind you. Two amber eyes shine in the darkness. "If I'm dying here, at least it was with my friends. Endurance." Gotta love a dare. The eyes meet your gaze, briefly, then turn to the standoff in the clearing. The hound behind you yawns, fangs flashing. When you turn back, the lions and the bear have disappeared. In their place is a stone wolf's maw, gaping wide enough to swallow you whole. Beyond it is the outline of a temple, towering but indistinct. Blood must feed the maw watcher. See that a true champion reigns. Travel to the stone maw in Galawain's vision. Interesting. Temple district. It wants to reveal a cave shaped like a wolf's maw in an area that looked like a temple district. I wonder what kind of conflict that'll be hinting toward. Alright, this is Hylia. Here we are, the Midwife's Memoirs. I bet if I had the grieving mother along, I should hear all sorts of that's just looking at this first thing. The Midwife's Memoirs? Yeah, I'm starting to think I should have the grieving mother for this one. My mother lived every note of life's song. Bringing me into this world was her last verse. For this my father scorned me and abandoned me. And for this very same fact, my town's midwife and adherent of Hylia raised me as her own. When I came of age, I learned that Hylia visits us on the screams of women in childbirth. And when a woman dies giving life to her child, her soul is carried away and reborn as an avian attendant of Hylia's court. Through the miracle of the Queen of Birds, my mother has been with me, watching over me my whole life. I wear the fetish charms of the Cloud Singer, the bird I dreamt my mother became. My feathery trinkets look gaudy and unbecoming, but it is a signifier to women in need that I am a trained midwife, blessed by Hylia and living every note of life's song. The Queen of Birds wills us to shepherd new life into the world, and not as the other gods so often desire, to end it. A follower of Mogren once mocked my faith, saying I worshipped paintbrushes and birds, piddling things beneath the gods. I do not resent the other gods and the brutal necessities that they must oversee, but it is not language, love, the arts, and creativity that which separate it. But is not language. But is not language. Language? No, language. But is not language, love, the arts, and creativity that which separates us from simple beasts? Hylia allows us to rise above our savage, feral selves. I am often amused that upon seeing our holy aviaries, visitors frequently ask, "This is nice, but where is the real Temple of Hylia?" Perhaps they think hallowed ground requires oppressive stoneworks and ceilings that hide the sky. They do not realize the Bird Queen stands not on ceremony. She makes herself manifest in the music of birds and in the beauty of the ubiquitous open sky. Hylia prefers the worship of 2 children singing over 1,000 petitioners silently praying for victory. The Sky Mother asks so little of us, and yet so much. We are charged to live every note of life's song. It surprises me how many fail to embrace this divine calling. Live every note of life's song. Your words seem to ring in the air, your voice rendered melodic and lilting by some unseen art. You shut your eyes to pray. As you wait in darkness, the world around you changes. You feel sunlight, bright and warm, on your face. A light breeze carries music to your ears. As vivid as these sensations feel, you somehow know they are not real. You look around and find yourself standing in an open-air temple built on a mountain summit. It's filled with elves, orlins, and assorted other kith. Ringing the entire scene is a fringe of trees, their verdant branches filled with birds of all different colors, shapes, and sizes. Alagina takes it all in with squinting eyes and a wry smile. "And I'm supposed to feel at home here. Really?" Everyone is singularly absorbed in a particular pursuit. An orlin sits with a canvas, a paintbrush in his hand, and jars of green, blue, and yellow pigments at his feet. An elf and an Almawa standing to the side are locked in conversation, their expressions dancing with delight. Still others scribble stanzas of poetry or crude sketches on sheets of paper, losing themselves in the delicate minutiae of lines and symbols, and syllables. You feel the breeze again, and 2 elves basking in the sunlight shiver. The largest group gathers in the middle of the temple. They sing a lush, chaotic harmony composed of several complementary melodies. Others drift toward the singers in 1 and 2s as if buffeted by a gust of wind or a phrase of the song. A ripple passes through the trees. You think it's the wind, but the chirping changes to screeching. Hundreds of birds take to the skies, all headed in one direction. Away. Sagani raises her bow. Something must be coming. The devotees glance at the trees, just barely distracted from their activities. But the wind picks up, scattering their pages of poetry and art and ripping the songs from their lips. They look skyward, and you follow their gaze. A dark shape blots out the sun. You can't tell what it is, but as it unfolds and expands, it seems to fill the sky. The wind roars over the summit. That explains the birds. Before you can flee, a shadow falls over the temple. It begins as a stain in the corner and spreads, blotting out the flagstones. It reaches the nearest kith, a black-furred orlin. The darkness swallows her, leaving only a puff of smoke in her place. The 2 elves that you saw earlier, a man and a woman, flee. You get a brief image of them huddled in the shadow of a mountain. They seem to see you too, and they reach out, calling silently after you. The others, however, seem frozen. As the shadow advances, they likewise vanish one by one. The driving gale scatters their ashes, and the charred remains of their creations. You look up again at the source of the shadow, but the eclipsed sun forms a blinding corona around the thing. You can't make out any details. You can, however, feel heat. Restore my temple. You look down and find yourself standing next to Hylia's shrine in Ter Evron. Your pulse still races and your skin is damp with sweat from your strange encounter. So it seems pretty much every one of these is giving something that we need to do. I get the feeling that as I complete these, more of them will open up. I better keep these books handy. Or at least some of them anyway. I hope I'm not going to regret dumping those. So which... Alright, this one is Barath. Here we are, the many faces of Barath. How fitting that we know the god of cycles, doorways, mortality, and inevitability as Barath, while the Valians know this very same god as Serono. For if nothing else, Barath teaches us that duality exists in all things. There is life in death, and death in life. Embrace this duality, and you honor Barath. In the ruins Erglanfath, Barath is depicted in the form of two semi-skeletal figures, one male, one female, Brunnen and Anko, and Anko and Brunnen. Literally, life in death, and death in life in the Gladfathen tongue. Male and female, inside and outside, life and death. We often think of Barath by imagining two sides of a coin, or the two endpoints of a journey. It is said that Barath has the most petitioners of every god, and this is likely true. Who amongst us has not prayed for this cycle to hiccup? Who has not, in a moment of sadness, yelled at Barath to make an exception for our fallen loved ones? Barath may not rescue our loved ones, but it answers our prayers in its own divine way. Barath is the god that makes life end in death, and it is also the god that makes death end in life. Barath, Serono, Bunanako, Anke Ibonan, whichever of the many names you prefer to use, deserves our prayers, for it has given us the promise of life's eternal renewal. There is life in death, and death in life. There is a rippling shift in the air around you, as if some unfelt wind had changed, bringing unexpected warmth. You feel the peculiar weight of an unseen presence, and of eyes upon you. You kneel and pray to Barath. Even while your eyes are closed, you see a road that seems to stretch on forever. The stars wheel overhead in a clockwork rotation of constellations, disappearing over the horizon to your left only to rise on your right. You try to make out the details on either side of the road, but your eyes can't seem to focus. One moment you think you see a meadow blanketed with mist and another sheer canyon walls. For just an instant you even see waves lapping at the edge of the road. Were you to step into the shifting landscape, you feel certain you would only end up back on the road. You know this is a vision, but the packed dirt feels firm beneath your feet, and the night air cool on your face. You are walking. Your face seems to carry you forward of their own. Your feet seem to carry you forward of your own accord. Something looms ahead of you. As you get closer, you see two stone figures that look strangely familiar. Memoirs Anko and Ankia Bonan, two of the oldest representations of Barath. You remember the door to Salaban Relag, and the two figures carved into the mountain next to it. One looks vaguely male and the other vaguely female. Only a thin layer of flesh covers their skeletal bodies, which twist to face the doorway beneath them. The doorway, however, is not what you saw in the ruins. It's a skull, gaping and jawless, and as you look on, its open mouth seems to grow. The arms of the two stone sculptures are swept toward the mouth, inviting you in. The road continues through the maw to another shifting landscape surrounded by stars. As you pass through it, you see an identical doorway in the distance. A dwarven man stands near it, unmoving. You turn and look behind you, only to see the skull gate you just passed facing you. An elven woman waits in the road. Like the dwarf, she stands still. You continue down the road toward him. He looks up as you approach, but you can't tell if he's looking at you or through you. His face is smooth but flaccid, as if the flesh is detached from the muscles underneath. As you look on, his face begins to change. Wrinkles crack at the corner of his eyes. His mouth sinks, carving deep lines from his nose to the corner of his lips. His jowls sag, and the loose flesh hangs like dough. He raises his cupped hands. They're covered in blood. He lifts them to his face and smears himself, from his newly creased forehead to the wattles of his neck. As he massages the dark, sticky fluid into his skin, the fresh wrinkles disappear. The hanging folds recede, and his flesh tightens as if re-adhering to his skull. He lifts his head, and this time you know he's looking at you. His renewed face looks like a mask, artificially smooth and still. Behind it, his black eyes are two hungry pits, yawning like the empty mouths of skulls. Come, make your sacrifice to the Ethic Knoll. His body blocks the path. He extends a bloody hand to you. You grab his hand, but his skin gives too easily under your grip. As you try to pull away, you hear a noise like dried canvas tearing. His skin splits, following a long seam that begins at his arm and stretches the length of his body. Blood gushes forth in such quantities that you can't imagine there was ever anything else in him. Sure enough, as the dwarf empties of blood, he collapses like a desiccated husk. The blood in the path gleams with 1,000 souls worth of essence. The essence evaporates, trailing shiny filaments into the night sky. Only now that he is dead, can you continue onward. The blood pools around your feet, and you look up to see the elven woman further down the road. You start toward her. There's something unnatural about the way she stands. She's too still. When you get closer, you see that her legs taper into a slender trunk, and in place of her feet are gnarled, twisted roots. She lifts her face to an invisible sun. Her long golden hair is the color of autumn leaves, and as you look more closely, you realize that her head is actually covered with tendrils and vines, sprouting brilliant yellow leaves, each glimmer with the essence of an entire soul. She gives you a beatific smile. As you look on, the leaves slowly fall from her head and settle at her roots. They melt into the path beneath her, and almost immediately new leaves sprout in the place of the old. She reaches towards you, still smiling as roots spring from her fingertips. Her outstretched arms bar the path. Come, graft your soul to the golden grove. Her roots twist around your fingers, and as they do, they grow rigid and cold. Her outstretched arms petrify, and as a rough stone bark overtakes her flesh, she can only look on in horror. You break away from her brittle grip. Her feet are rooted in place, but she twists and writhes as if trying to free her own dying limb. The petrification reaches her shoulder and spreads down her body, freezing it in a painful arc. It creeps up her neck and she throws her face skyward like a drowning swimmer. The grayness covers her face, freezing her gasp in stone. Now that she is still and lifeless, you can continue past her. Only the golden leaves on her head remain untouched, and as you watch, they fall one by one to the path below. They shrivel as the shimmering essence fades from them. A voice echoes along the road, barely more than a whisper on the breeze. Return them to the wheel. You lift your gaze and see the skull gate ahead of you on your path. The candles of Terevron wink through the open mouth. And the lives of the two figures from Barat's vision.
Hey there.
It would seem that is all for now. Okay, so that gives me a few directions that I can move in. So, as I said in the last stream, I'm going to swap out Palagina for Haravias before I continue investigating the Twin Elves. My goal is that I'm going to be somewhat thorough in investigating everywhere within the Twin Elves so that I can just port back and forth among there without fear of reproach. Well, at least so that I can more easily do so from the perspective of, well, from a gameplay standpoint, I should say. How do you fare, old one? I have questions.
What do you wish to know? Until we meet again, old one.
Hey there.
Alright, so we'll go ahead and head out back to Cadnua.
For awakenings being permanent?
Yeah, I did, Aloth. I did. Oh, I know what the problem is. Sorry. It was clipping through.
You and I are stuck with our awakenings. Not quite the news I was hoping for.
It just means we've got to focus on finding Theos.
A sensible perspective, particularly in the midst of such uncertainty. Back to myself. This all has me thinking about Isilmir. I'm stuck with her now.
It's time you dealt with this, Aloth.
I know.
And on the bright side, I've got plenty of time to figure out how to deal with her. Like it or not, she's part of you, and she could be a source of strength if you learn to work with her.
I've lived with her most of my life, and I've always seen her as an adversary. It should have occurred to me the day she stood up to my father. But there's something about being too close to a situation to see it clearly. It will be a relief to stop fighting her.
Even as he says it, something struggles within him. The muscles in his face twitch and his skin quivers. His eyes roll back in his skull, exposing slivers of white. Sweat beads and glistens on his forehead. After several seconds, he sighs and looks back at you. That wasn't as difficult as I expected. I think deep down, I'd always hoped to find a solution elsewhere. When I was a child, I always thought my mother would come home with a mysterious cure, or that my father, without knowing it, could somehow send her away just as he'd called her forth. I can't pretend that I didn't spend years of my arcane training hoping that one of my instructors would have the answers somewhere in his grimoire. When I joined the Leaden Key, I hoped and believed that, with enough loyal service, I'd gain the ear of someone in the organization who could help me. Even when I met you and realized your unique talents, I hoped that you might be able to reach into my soul the way I've seen you do with so many others. I'd been looking for something else to solve my problems, and now I realize that I've got to face it on my own. I've been with you the whole way. I still am.
Truly,
That means a great deal to me.
one said. About the gods not being real.
Oh, that's weird. Why does it seem like the audio is being cut off? Weird. I'll have to go back to the autosave real quick and see if it's a problem. A cautious, thoughtful look crosses his face. That reminds me of something else that Dilemgan said, about the gods not being real. He says it quietly, as if afraid someone might overhear him. They did tell us to pray to the gods, so that can't be entirely true. Yes.
Still, I can't help but worry at the state we'd be in if that were somehow true. If there were no power guiding us in this life and shepherding us to the next.
I'm sure we'd find our way on our own.
I hope you're right.
So, you've made peace with Isilmir. What's that like? Relaxing. More so than I expected. As contentious as she is, I imagined that letting her in would merely unleash the torment. Or but now that I'm not fighting her, it seems she isn't fighting me. And you were right. Not much to learn from her.
Hey there.
Alright, I don't know why the audio seemed to be getting cut off on that, but you know what? I've got the previous save if I want to listen back to that anyway, so let's see. Arm's reach. Oh, it looks like I can return. Okay, we're returning real quick. Huh. Based on what chat said, it didn't seem like I would have been able to return, but maybe I can. You know what? I'm very curious. We'll go ahead and make a backup save. Well, actually, yeah, we'll go ahead and make a backup save just in case. And I've already got 1,000,005 of these. I may as well lean into that, right?
You must gather your party before venturing forth.
Let's see what happens if I attempt to return. So real quick, do I have enough space on this drive? Yeah, I do. I've been stockpiling a lot of footage for another video that I haven't been willing to compress yet, so I have to make sure that I've got enough. So let's go resolve things. Aw.
Aloth. Never before have I met an Adiran man so hesitant to speak his mind.
Like to consider my words carefully.
You should really hear yourself talk, amigo.
Okay, yeah. Something weird is going on with Aloth's dialogue. I think I'm gonna make a save and restart the game. Alright, I will be right back. So, let's go ahead and... Luckily... that was... Yeah, something weird's acting up. It might be because of how I'm running it right now, to be fair. Because... I ended up changing things a little bit with how I set things up stream-wise, because actually, how long has it been? It's been a while. Well, it's only been a couple of weeks now that I think of it, but a friend was giving away... Steam was unable to sync your files. Oh, that's why it took so long to load up. But... there we go. Alright, let's not touch it while it's loading up, because this is the Unity engine. Because the short version is that a friend was giving away a 4K ultra-wide monitor, so I figured, hey, I will not say no to that. And as a result, I can't necessarily play most games in 4K ultra-wide, because my graphics card... Well, I bought my graphics card on the assumption that I wouldn't be upgrading to that for a while, and to be fair, it has been a couple of years since I first built this PC, and it's been holding up quite well, and it's unlikely I'll need to upgrade anytime in the next 3 to 5 years anyway. But...
Sure.
All right. So, as a result, I gotta put Pillars of Eternity in windowed mode so that I can properly handle everything. So, thanks to that, Heritage Hill is restored. Yep. Just a bit. Anything interesting to worry about? Alrighty, let's head inside. Kept it slow just in case something interesting happens, so there we are. Oh boy. Palagino, wait! There's a tremble in the ambassador's voice as he slowly and barely raises his hand to pause Palagina's advance. There are men here. Men who... That's enough, Ambassador. We are capable of speaking for ourselves. The slight elf standing in the ambassador's side smirks and toys with a stiletto, lightly jabbing his captive in the ribs for emphasis. His bright green eyes turn upward to lock with Palagina's angry stare. Your superior here. He told me that he didn't want you investigating. He scratches his head with the stiletto, a look of mock confusion on his face. Given his version of events, it doesn't sound like you're very good at following orders. We'll have to assume your orders, like those of your idiot comrades at Stormwall Gorge, are also to kill us. If you haven't figured it out yet, that's not gonna happen. Always quick with a smart remark, aren't you? I don't really find you that funny, to be honest. The elf holds the stiletto near the ambassador's neck. What do you think, Ambassador?
My vows are to ensure the safety of the Republics. Sometimes that means breaking orders, not following them.
Safety? The elf chuckles softly. I don't think the Valiant Dukes are going to be too pleased that your insubordination left them with an embassy full of dead diplomats.
Your first error was mistaking my countrymen for helpless sheep. Freros, Ceres, children of the Republics. Show these dogs the price of threatening our people.
Palagina's eyes flash, the irises seeming to grow impossibly large. Her head spins to address the Valiants held at sword point around the room, her voice echoing with energy. Huh. And there we go. Now that it's snapping back. Okay, I did not need to be the first one in, but that's okay. Alright. Adair, get over there and knock him over. Don't give him any opportunity. Anybody else?
Ambassador, are you all right?
The ambassador shakes his head and looks around at the aftermath of the battle. Am I alive? Yes, I'm not all right, Palagina. When you plant a crop of intrigue, this is the harvest you reap.
Diverus? You should be thanking me, Merla Penita. Do you think that if we ignore this, that it would go away on its own?
I do not. These people are more dangerous than I believed, I admit, but that does not release you from your responsibilities. Palagina's feathers instantly ruffle in protest. I will pray that Hylia gives you swift travels.
Please don't.
You do what you can. I will do the same. For now, that means prayer. The ambassador shrugs and throws up his hands. Good fortune to both of you. Adol Vidorio.
Ado Vidorio.
Oh boy. I'm assuming that means that Palagina is no longer working for the Republics.
Well met, friend.
These dear Woodens are mad. Their duke is murdered and so they nearly burned down the city. He raises his hand and looks to the ceiling. Such Xlode Erie. It would be a relief to return to the Osia after this. Palagina said you could use my help with something. Of course, of course. Word has reached my ears how you crossed blades with the Dominals, and yet here you are still. Quite impressive. Verzano was most fortunate you came along. But on to business. A rather notorious adventuring party calling themselves the Forgotten have made a name for themselves by raiding Engwithan ruins in the Deerwood and selling the stolen relics to their patrons back in the Valiant Republics. I need them stopped. I'm sure you're aware that trade in Engwithan relics is strictly forbidden in the Deerwood. Were it known that prominent nobles in the Republics were flagrantly defying the Duke's ban on the looting of Engwithan ruins, it would put a number of valuable trade agreements in jeopardy or even cause Defiance Bay to embargo Valiant goods. I can't let that happen. The authorities in Defiance Bay have no idea this smuggling is going on? I'm sure rumors have reached their ears, but if they suspected that there was any truth to them, they'd have summoned me before them. That hasn't happened yet. Why not just have the Forgotten killed? He shakes his head. I hear the town criers now. Bailey Ambassador hires assassins, though that option is too risky. I'll help. What do you need me to do? He smiles in relief. Thank you. A prominent merchant in the Republics, Mestre Bazcosi, has also developed an interest in obtaining Engwithan relics, and sent a buyer to Defiance Bay to meet with the Forgotten. I arranged for the Knights of the Crucible to detain the buyer for questioning. I may have suggested that the buyer was a wanted criminal. I'll need you to go in the buyer's place, posting as Barcosi's representative, and learn how the Forgotten are smuggling the relics through Defiance Bay. With that knowledge, I can take steps to discreetly dismantle their operation and discredit them in the eyes of their patrons. If there's nothing else, I must return to my duties. Tell me about the Valiant Republics. They are rich in all ways, in wealth, in style, in culture. If you were to go to the Republics, you would not want to leave. Why would you? The people are beautiful and charming. I am here because the Songreta Ducala wishes it. But when my appointment is done, I will be on the first ship out, and I will sing from here to Salona. What do you do here? As the Valiant Ambassador, my job is to ensure trade with the Deerwood remains strong and profitable. Forgotten. Eidolon Bridge? Where is that? Ah, that's simple enough. Alright, let's be off then. I'm sure Palagina will have things to say once we step out of here. Soon we shall see. How are we looking? Yep. All looks clear. Whoops. Wait, that's not where I need to go. Actually, I'm really curious. What'll happen if I go visit the Dozens? Probably for the best I don't have Harabias along for this one. I'm sure he'd probably just force a confrontation of some kind. Either way, it shouldn't take long to find out what all's going on here. I'm surprised at how peaceful things are now, but then again, it has I don't know. We'll have to see. Either way, let's take a look. This is going to lead to an interesting conversation. Well, conversation. I already know it. Finally, we all see what those animancers and their lackeys in the Crucible Keep are really up to. It was only a matter of time. Scars cover Winon's arms, and he sports a purpling eye, but the grin on his face is nothing short of triumphant. What was your part in the riots? Uniting the city against the Knights, of course. They made their intentions clear when their pet animancer assassinated the Duke. Lots of blood in the streets. Shame to lose so many good men and women, but we had to act. Surprised he didn't give any more than that. You survived today. Got too close to the fires myself. A bright burn mark in his right arm oozes pus. Still, it's a better emblem than anything those knights wear. Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't get more of an annoyed entrance, but either way, it looks like there's still plenty to... Well, it looks like I can still poke around a little bit if necessary. Given that, I suppose that's... next in the chopping block will be to see to the business at the bridge. See how it turns out. Wonder which direction they'll head. Alright, relatively straight. Didn't know if there was a faster way, but here we are. Suppose not. Huh. The crowd's still chanting, but there's no crowd here anymore. Funny how that works out. Alrighty. And once we've resolved this, we'll go ahead and head to Cadnua, swap Palagina out for somebody else. Well, Paravias. Alrighty. Wait, did Derek level up? Useful. I'll keep it as it is. I need to make you dangerous. If I recall correctly, given the way the AI works, I need to make you dangerous enough to where people will actually be worried about you, so... I make you more dangerous to Kith. Doesn't look it. Maybe if... Actually, extra move speed wouldn't necessarily be too bad. That way you can get into a fight hopefully before I do. Because honestly, rushing in like that, I could get away with it because of just how little I need... Well, given how weak the enemies were in that case, but... The man's hand rests lightly on the hilt of his flail as you approach. What's your business with us? Does the name Barkozy mean anything to you? Yes, you're late, and we hate to be kept waiting. Don't let it happen again. Now, onto the details of our arrangement. There's a loose plank on the southern end of the docks in Andra's Gift, near that sunken ship. Leave the payment there. Gems and coins only. Gems preferably. Much easier to carry than sacks of coin. Right, we'll take the payment and replace it with Ingrithan relics of slightly lesser value. I say lesser because we have to take our own fee first. We're doing all the work and taking most of the risk after all. There you have it, clean and simple. Any questions? How do I know you won't just take the money and leave nothing in return? The arrangement works for Mestre Fusillo. It works for Mestre Ross. Mestre Ross. You don't like the deal? Walk away. How do you know which relics are valuable? I'm quite knowledgeable about Inquithan culture. If I say something is valuable, it is. And Varian hasn't been wrong yet either. Tell your master not to worry about us selling him junk. Do the Glanfathans get upset when they catch you looting? We do get caught, which doesn't happen often. We make sure the Glanfathans don't stay upset for very long. Witnesses are inconvenient. You've managed to keep this arrangement going without ever being caught? Yep. The Valiant ambassador Augusti knows about us and is trying to shut us down. He's not as smart as he thinks he is. And besides, our patrons in the Republics are more powerful and influential. We don't have anything to worry about. Good. Give us about a week and we'll have something for you. Bad news, Oromath. Barkosi's buyer isn't coming. Looks like the Knights took him in for questioning. My guess is Augusti is behind it. So, what's going on here? Who's this? Oh god. Good question. Well, this is awkward. He knows too much. Kill him! Oh, that's cute. You think you're gonna kill me. Unfortunately, this is an Act 2 quest, so you don't have anything to save you this time. So I'm just gonna walk up and stun lock you into oblivion, if you don't mind. Guys care to attack? Okay, I need to check your party AI. Alright, so you've got support. Can you be on aggressive? Yeah, you be aggressive too. Wonder if that grimoire will be of any use.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, second grimoire. Take the rest. Alright, Aloth. Anything good? Anything good? Nope, stuff you already have.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's pretty definitive.
You must gather your party before venturing forth.
So another bath scene too? Alrighty. Oh wow, it's already been an hour? Man, just going through everything up to now has taken a lot longer than I expected. Still, it's been a good time. Been a good time. It's good to be back in the saddle. I just realized how color-coded everybody is. I don't know, that wasn't intentional, but it worked out quite nicely. Worked out quite nicely indeed. Let's see. I wonder how he'll respond to it, the screw-up he put in.
How do you do?
I met with her Forgotten, but it didn't go quite like you planned it. Oh? You weren't able to learn anything about their smuggling operations? It was going well, but then they discovered I wasn't really Barkosi's representative. I see. I'm glad you survived the experience. I'd hoped I could resolve this situation with subtlety, but what's done is done. No idea what may come of this. That's my problem, not yours. Alrighty. Surprised he's not asking for more intel, but you know what? There it is. I wonder if there was another way to resolve that. Fortunately, the autosave's kicked in by now, so there probably is another way, but still, I got a decent amount of information about who's involved, but
Don't bother the caddy, Tamak. You'd have better odds against a Stelgard.
I have questions. So, while we're here, we'll go ahead and swap it. Well, we'll swap people around. Well, actually, we may as well see to the bounty while I'm here. Well, the one bounty I do have. See if there's any new ones.
Last thing the Deerwood needs is another foreign colony.
Well, too bad for you. Which I haven't seen too much. Alright, what's been up with Cadno? Standard stuff. Alright, we'll go ahead and see to this. I don't know if there will be any other bounties, but I suppose we'll find out before too long. I doubt they'll throw too many at us given the circumstances, but I suppose time will tell.
Gods keep you.
I'm here to claim the bounty for Nullwind the Wise. Ugh, smells as bad as he looked. Good work. Ooh, couple of big names on here this time around. There's Doroth Grimald, the Vampire, and the Priest of the Crucible Knight, and this Priest the Crucible Knights are after. Also have a bounty here for the Green Death. And this last one from the Glanfaddens at Ibril's Well. Seems they're after a looter. Tell me about Doroth Grimald. Doroth Grimald's some kind of rabble-rouser, fancies himself a visionary. Thing is, they've tried killing him before. Didn't stick. Now this vampire's set up in some kind of cult in the catacombs beneath the Copperlane district in Defiance Bay. The Ducal Palace wants him removed. Permanently. What's this about a priest? Thorfinn, a high priest of the Scattered God, has been desecrating gravesites all over Deerwood. No idea what he's looking for, but he and his men killed a squad of Crucible Knights sent to stop him, and now they want his head. The last known sighting was in the Esternwood. Who's the Green Death? Some alchemist in Mercy Vale wants the head of the Glastial the Troll, also known as the Green Death. The fellow didn't say what he wanted it for, only that he's willing to pay very well. If that suits you, I suggest you look for Glastial and Leal Remen. Who are the Glanfaddens after? Songsmith Ruska, a Norway's chanter. She and her associates have been looting in Gwithan ruins, and the Glanfaddens at Ibril's Well want her to pay for her crimes. And they'll pay us to see it done. Ruska has a camp outside of Salav and Relag.
I'm ready. Need something?
Hey there.
More bounties! Nice. I'm gonna be kept busy. I'm surprised Palagina hasn't had anything to say about what happened. Maybe I should keep her around, but who do I swap out? Aloth, maybe? He's too useful, though. Then again, that's the nice thing. Pretty much everyone is useful in their own way when I think about it. I mean, I haven't been using Haravias a whole lot because I'm already a druid.
Gelade. Well done.
Sure.
A formidable fortress in the old style. We don't build them like this anymore, you know. Not by the sea. Too vulnerable to cannons.
There we are. Alright, so...
Cores.
There we are. Now that that's been seen to... what to do? So, do I want to be thorough in my continuing exploration of the rest, or... You know what? Let's continue being thorough with respect to what's already in front of me. I'll head back to Elm's Reach. Actually, do I want to do anything while I'm here? Nah, I'll just keep going to Elm's Reach. Now that we have seen to a large chunk of that, we will now be thorough in our exploration of the Twin Elms. We will scan it from top to bottom, looking for every quest and every assorted little thing that could possibly exist. And once that we have seen to that, we will move on to the other two areas here, avoiding the main story where possible.
Sure.
Every payday, that's okay. With any luck, should be interesting. Wonder what this is. Alright. So nothing too interesting there. Maybe attached to a quest at some point, but at least for now. Let's see what awaits us. Protectors. That companion. Alright, so that takes us over to Old Song. Another Glenfather home. Golden Grove. Actually, that might be relevant to... Wait a minute, that might be relevant to one of the visions I had. I guess I'll find out before too long. I suspect that a lot of what's going on here... Well, I suspect that a lot of the visions that I saw will be in some way related to... Seth. That's random. Mail too.
That's...
Oh! I'm glad I gave Alon such high perception. Huh. Okay. I was not expecting that. Okay, I guess we'll have to suffer the loading time then to get back in there. Loading time has been long now that I think of it. I don't know if it's because I've been running on a lot less disk space on this drive lately, or if it's because the game is having trouble. I don't know what's up. Whatever the case may be. Well, I don't know. Then again, it also takes a very long time to actually sell everything in my inventory if I leave it alone too long. Starlit Garb. Set of robes. Some kind. Exceptional. Damn. How do they compare? Actually, this might not be bad for Aloth. What robes do we have for you? I don't know, extra intellect and lore? Although the extra... Let's take a look. What intellect? So, real quick. So you're getting intellect from the Hermit's Hat as well, so you don't need that. What about your lore? Okay, so... The thing is, your lore doesn't need to be super high, and it's not like I'm using scrolls all that much, so I probably can get away with swapping that out. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do so. And while I'm here, I may as well enchant stuff. Yeah, let's give you more perception. Let's see, most ranged weapons are piercing, so we'll give you resistance to that. We're not gonna put we're not gonna do Durgan Steel reinforcement for this one. Oh, that looks cool.
Hey there.
That looks cool. Okay. Moving on.
Do you enjoy hunting with your Stelgar form? Or do you prefer traditional weapons?
Well, my favorite trick is to pretend I'm just a dead Orlan until something gets really close. Then I shift.
A clever tactic.
I'll say, I once killed a moose by giving it a heart attack.
What? I just realized I haven't done too much with your actual equipment. I should see to that. Alright, let's improve your Wild Strike. Oh yeah, you've got a few of these, don't you? Returning Storm just so that you have it to bring down. Nonsense. two-handed style. And then... Alright, that should be fine. I guess while I'm here, I may as well dig through and see what I can do for Haravias, because I have not equipped him very well. And unfortunately, I haven't really sifted through my inventory in a while either, so... It would probably be very easy to find good equipment for him, because, let's be honest, I do not have a lot of good stuff in here anyway. Although... Ooh, actually, the spear's not bad. Oh yeah, definitely better than anything I can give him. Okay, so he's fine as far as spears are concerned, so let's check armor. So if he's going for fine leather... So leather's considered medium. Oh, that's weird. Using the mouse wheel is turning it twice. That's strange. There. Recovery speed is slightly higher, but the rest works pretty well in your favor. Let's go ahead and do that then. Oh, that looks so silly. That looks so incredibly silly. We're keeping it. Extra might and resolve, that could be useful. Don't have a lot of good rings at the moment. Ooh, wow, that's a massive constitution boost. I should put that on somebody else. Extra accuracy is always good. What the heck? YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. What the hell? Probably a good thing that no one's around right now. Crap, that's not good. When did that start up? It's been going strong pretty consistently over the last... Oh, hell. Well, I might have to end early then. Damn it. Well, I'll keep going then. Regardless of that. If it's only buffering, then I can probably deal with it. It's just that it'll end up being a little behind. Worst case scenario, I upload this as a video later. Alright, so what's this? Boots of speed. Yeah, it looks like it'll be useful. Oh, actually, yeah, looking at the kilobytes per second, holy crap, that's trash. Since that no one's... Well, since that there aren't a whole lot of people watching the stream... Actually, has anyone? Not really. Given that, I'll probably just upload this as a separate video later, then. You've already got... Shit. Oh yeah, you're getting +1. Actually, an extra bit of con wouldn't help. Wouldn't hurt. Even if it looks silly. Even if it looks very silly.
Yeah?
Alright, that's... How did I not notice that before? Ah well, I'll check back on the video once that it's done. If it's trash, I'll just do something else. Alright. Just a few tribesmen. Alrighty then. Alrighty. Getting back into it. Okay, it looks like it's stabilized now. Good. That was bizarre. This looks like it'll spark an interesting conversation. Golden Grove. Will earn my trust. Who do you continue to support around? The High Ovate has tended to the grove for centuries, and now abandoned it to journey away from Twin Elms, much too often.
Hail, Estremor.
The elf holds a chipped wooden pipe. The sweet smoke wafting from the bowl makes you dizzy. Welcome, Estremor. I've got herbs and potions for sale. Looking for something to ease your travels, or something to make them more interesting. When she grins, you see her teeth and gums are stained brown. What, Leaf? Nice way to spend an afternoon. And the following night, and most of the next day. Flask of warp. Extra accuracy, damage, and... Ooh, that's... These could be useful, actually. I don't know if I would want any of the rest of this, but still. Tiny sporling. Despite its off-putting toothy maw and dead eyes, this little sporling is awfully affectionate for a fungal mass. It waddles after you with unexpected speed. Oh. Alright, another place I can go for materials if necessary. Nobody sees anything. Huh. Looks like a congregation or gathering of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it was Itumaka. Golden leaves flash and shine as they fall from the trees. This bark feels warm. The roots almost seem to twine around your hand.
Hail, Estremor.
Though his eyes are closed and his posture still, the man before you keeps his head aimed at you, as if carefully following your movements. Hail to you. May your time in the Golden Grove be enriching. If you are in need of services, he says, his eyes still closed, speak with Bleta. She will see to your concerns. What can you tell me of the Golden Grove? We are naturalists, philosophers, herbalists, and teachers. The Ovates of the Golden Grove know that true wisdom comes from the study of the natural order. We endeavor to teach others to explore the world for themselves. This is the part that's going to get me kicked out of the Twin Elms, isn't it? Let's find out. An elf with placid green eyes nods in greeting. Welcome to the Golden Grove, traveler.
Hail, Estremor.
Do you seek the wisdom of our herbalists, or simply to bask in Waretha's glory? Who leads your order? High Ovate Arona leads us. She sometimes journeys to Elmshore to renew her strength, however. She's there now with some of her closest followers, in fact. Arona is a mighty elm among us. She's lived for generations. There are none who understands the world as she, and we are fortunate to have her wisdom to answer our questions. I'd like to know more about Arona. Her eyes brighten. Why, you must meet her for yourself. She is wise and kind, and she has led our order from the beginning. Yet she walks among us and gives freely of herself. She turns her gaze to the great twisting elms. This is what so many of us cherish about her. She is present among us in a way that the gods never are. Tell me about the Golden Grove. We are the Ovates, druids, philosophers, and students of nature. We gather here to share our knowledge and celebration. She gestures to another elven woman standing near the entrance to the grove. Many travelers come to us for poultices and remedies. Bleta understands the cures and poisons of nature like no other. What do you believe? We believe that knowledge is found in the earnest exploration of the natural world. She tilts her head. We do not, as some have said, oppose the gods. We simply believe that we have found a brighter, more peaceful path than devotion. Rona. Ventures to Elmshore. Remind me where that is? Ah. I have a bad feeling about this. Oh wait, the place that I explored a while back. Wonder if I'll find out anything more interesting here. Guess we'll see. Ooh. Take. I don't think anyone will mind me picking up some blood moss. I would assume not, anyway. Got important things to do, huh? So we've got a bunch of Stelgare. Bunch of warriors. I'm trying to remember if I have any real business here, although I suspect, well, you know what? We're being thorough, so we're going to explore every nook and cranny, and if we're forced to double back here for something else, well, so be it. We'll just deal. Yeah. Ready. Go. This looks like it'll be interesting. Let's find out. Ah, 3 tusks. I'm trying to remember what the 3 tusks represent.
Tread carefully, Estermore.
A grizzled old elf, his hair braided and dyed, stands at one end of the hall. His arms and chest are cross-hatched with the pale seams of scars. His crooked smile looks like another. It's not many Estermoran who permitted into our sacred city. Bethril must be feeling especially soft today. Adair pays no attention to the elf, and instead has locked eyes with the Stelgare in front of him. He whispers to you, "You think you'd mind if I pet a Stelgare?" Really? Didn't you just get bit by Itumak the last time you tried to pet something you shouldn't have? Sagani lowers a head. Remember how well that worked out last time? This game's awesome. Come to hear your future at Ter Evron? His smile widens, exposing a row of yellowed, crooked teeth. Or to make your own at Blood Sands. What's Blood Sands? An ancient place of sacrifice. He laces his fingers together, in a cave by the great elms themselves. Reshton and his druids have been an integral part of Glanfatha's society for generations, no matter what some of the other tribes might say. Ere Glanfath has held its own against the Estromorn because some of us still understand the power of sacrifice. He gives you an appraising eye. Does the thought make you uncomfortable? It should. It's what's kept our society alive for so long. Simok crosses his arms over his scarred chest. Something else? You don't seem fond of us Estromoran. His hunched shoulders straighten. I fought in the Broken Stone War and the War of Black Trees. Saw my brethren cut down defending the places of the builders. I shed blood alongside Galvin Regnick himself. Now the Estromorn seem to think they will find a cure for their empty children among our sacred sites. Or worse, that they will find sanctuary in our lands. His gaze darkens. I see what happens when they set their sights on Glanfathan's soil. Well, he does have a point, Aravias mutters under his breath. You learn not to trust your neighbors when they defile your lands habitually for several generations. Aravias folds his arms and shrugs. He's got all the reasons in the aura to worry. And this worries you? I've seen too many wars for this not to worry me. In my 250 years, I've led my people through 2 wars. Our borders have remained intact and largely through the reputation of 3-Tusk Stelgare. His voice drops to a growl. Sired a dozen children, but none have been deemed fit to take my place. I care nothing for the legacies that obsess the Estromoran lords, but it is important that my successor continue this path. If your own children don't succeed you, what happens? Ordinarily, the Rial would turn to others in my tribe, the clan heads and their families. Ordinarily. He levels his gaze. We share a tradition of fostering the children of other tribes, and the Anamfath of Fisher Crane has trusted his youngest in my care. As none of my own blood are fit to take my place, I will look next to this bog child, the kin of another Anamfath and my foster daughter, to take my place. You should be so lucky, Ravias chirps. This young Fisher Crane lass is a great gift. You should be thankful. Ravias's voice becomes a low whisper, especially given your familial feebleness. Couldn't you just send her... Wait, Bogchild? His shoulders stiffen. I have nothing but respect for Fisher Crane, but their ways are not ours. The Orlans of Fisher Crane have lived in Thine Bog for 1,000 years. They are cunning and furtive by nature, which serves them well when they have swamplands to hide their movements. He crosses his arms, but this will not deter the Estremoran on open ground. Aravias's eyes widen at the remarks. Nobody belittles the Fisher Crane but me, he mutters under his breath as his fingers stretch into talons. But yes, I will see the point that my tribe is wise enough to eschew the mindless tactics of a fair fight. He points at the warriors gathered near the fire. Our savagery has deterred the Estremoran from further encroachment. They still tell of our deeds in the Broken Stone War. But if a child of Fisher Crane leads our tribe, we will lose that boldness, and the Estremoran will lose their fear of us. The child will be influenced by the souls of her ancestors. In times of crisis, she will look to her kin in Thang Bog for guidance. No matter what I might try to teach her, it will not be enough. He considers you. There is a way you could help. You have the stomach for it, but I think it would suit someone of your inclinations. Go on. This Orlan girl has the soul of a leader. If it were passed to one of my own offspring, our tribe would remain strong. A Stelgar at Simok's side scratches its massive head on the Yamanfath's leg. He remains steady on his feet. The druids of Blood Sand have a way to do this, and they understand the importance of a strong line of succession for three-tusked Stelgar. Sagani scrapes around its side of ears with a pinky finger. I'm just a simple hunter from the tundra, so you'll have to slow down. You want us to do what? He gives you a key. There is a house in southeast Harsong next to the river. The child will be asleep, and I've arranged for her to be unattended for a time. His voice becomes a quiet rumble. Take her and bring her to Keep Werda and Blood Sands. She knows what must be done. When she presents you with the liquid essence, bring it back to me. What will Keeper Werda do with the child? His scarred face twists again. Have you seen the rituals of Blood Sands? She will sacrifice her. It is the only way to distill her essence. Be easier to kill this fella and distill his essence. The Orlan child? Go on. I don't see why you need me to do this. Because I cannot do it without attracting undue attention. He frowns. I don't relish passing my own burdens on to another, but this will incite a war between our tribes if I am caught. How can you possibly expect to get away with this? Few know the girl is here, and one Orlan babe will look much the same as the next. But let's not let me worry about that. I should kill you for this. The Stelgar at his side growls, surrounded by my best warriors. That would be unwise. I won't do this. I do not relish the deed, but 2 centuries of leadership have taught me all things bear a cost. Consider it well, Estremor. I am not above rewarding those who are of service. Tell me about the 3-tusked Stelgar. The boldest and fiercest of the 6 great tribes of Erglanfath. It was we who first defended against the Estremoran who came to shore 200 years ago. He raises his chin. We have always been the border tribe, and it has always fallen to us to hold the line against outsiders and invaders. Aravias leans in with a whispered voice. The way they keep mentioning battles of old, you'd think they're the 3-tusked martyr tribe. They are indeed fierce, and their history is rife with glorious deeds. I sometimes think they'd fight the other tribes if they didn't have trespassers to hunt. What do you do here? As Anamfather 3-tusked Stelgar, I guide our tribe in all matters. He looks to the main room of the hut, where others have gathered. I am in Twin Elms to confer with some of the other Anamfather about the Onolfen, your Hollowborn. We only have such births here on occasion, but it has made us more vigilant about our neighbors. One Stelgar stretches, flexing its claws. Simok's eyes narrow. There are some of us who believe your Onolfen to be a punishment for the defilements of the builder's sites. Others say it's a plague carried by the Estremoran. People make it what they want it to be, and when it ends, if it ends, they'll make up reasons for that too. Okay, I was not expecting this to... Oh, what might this be? A young man approaches you with a swift and purposeful stride. While you've never met him before, he has the same stern, wild look as Simok. He doesn't speak until he's right next to you. When he does, his voice is quiet. Wait, I saw you speaking with my father. What's this about? He glances back at the room with Simok. He's asked you to sacrifice Vela, hasn't he? He grits his teeth. Maybe he's right about 3 Tustelgear growing weak. But if this is the price of strength, it isn't worth it. The tribes have survived this long because we've stuck together. Zagani does a double take. Kid, are you sure that old elf's your father? You have another idea? There's an herbalist among the Ovates of the Golden Grove. Bledha, that's her name. They all gather southeast of here by the river. She could brew a poison. Simok wouldn't know the difference until it's too late. There's the family resemblance. You want me to murder your father? No, but it's better than allowing him to murder this child. Why not just return this child to her birth parents? It's complicated. A child sent to be fostered by another tribe isn't allowed to return. Unfortunately, explaining that we're shielding her from my father would make matters much worse for both tribes. Let me guess. If Simok dies, you're next in line? It's not like that. The Riao has already determined that my soul isn't strong enough. Whoever follows my father, it won't be me. There's an easier way to kill Simok, you know. His warriors would surround you in no time. Besides, it's simplest if this happens quietly. I've got to think about this. I hope you don't have to think about too hard about it. With another glance at Simok's chamber, he beckons toward the door. I'm warning you now, Estermore. Don't go anywhere near Vela. I'm my father's son in one regard, anyway. So there's a way out to try and get around this. Do what's right, Estermore. Counting on you. Okay. How to play this? How to play this? I really do not like where this is going, though. I do not like what I think I've gotten myself involved in. Still, I'm not going to be responsible for the murder of a child, so it's just a matter of figuring.
Before I knew it, the Stelgar was on top of me, and I was face down in the dirt.
Arrow to the throat. That stops him.
What? No! I was spirit shifted, and she was in heat, so I aimed for the throat, but not with an arrow.
Do I want to know how that story continues? I don't think I do. The clear water tastes sweet and refreshing. Here we are. Alright, let's see what lies this way. The game didn't just crash on me. Okay, it's fine. Took so long, it almost seemed like it had. The Ethic Knoll welcomes your presence, supplicants. A dwarven man stands, motionless, near the roaring fire that lights the cavern. Your sacrifice feeds the land, supplicants. Come forth. A gust of smoke curls around him, licking the charred flesh that bulges on his forearms. They suddenly flex. Estermore. The dwarf holds his fists in a tight grip. Your kin doesn't come here to share with the tribes. What do you want? What's this place? Blood Sands. The dwarf picks on his scarred forearm. His guttural sign mingles with the crackling of wood and bones behind him. As I said, Estermoran rarely visit our halls. The Glanfathers call this place Blood Sands. We call it home. The Ethic Knoll have tended the land from within this cave since before the arrival of the tribes to Twin Elms. Goros crosses his arms. Be warned, Estremor. We bleed life to nurture it. Our sacrifices may strike you as savage, but the health of these lands depend on them, and it's unseemly for guests to insult their hosts. Tell me about the sacrifices. Goros spreads his stocky legs apart and locks his forearms. Everything must die to return anew, Estremor. Through the sacrificial rites, we offer supplicants the honor of giving their most precious gift back to their brethren, back to the land. The dwarf lifts his fist, thick and mottled by red scars. The blood gives us strength. Even the Glenfathens have come to depend on the blood paint. They brim with power before battle, all thanks to the sacrifices of their kin. Tell me about the Ethic Knoll. Our order has thrived for generations. Before we came to Twin Elms, our rights fed the lands of the Eastern Mountains. Now we share blood for Air Glanfath. Goros opened his palms. Strikes of red skin run through them like flames. To everything that must end, our sacrifices bring a new beginning. He looks up. We sustain what's to come. Remember, Estremor, you're a guest in these halls. Respect our ways and we'll tolerate your presence among us. Why do I get the feeling that this is... Why do I get the feeling that this is related to... What is it? Why do I get the feeling that's him? I have a bad feeling about this. There's no greater honor than dying for one's tribe. I really need to turn the brightness up on my monitor. Huh. Random Earth Blight. So a few chanters and keepers. The bravest sons and daughters fall not by the sword or of Estremor, but by the daggers of their brethren. Keeper Werda? Who are you?
Hail, Estremor.
The elderly dwarf blinks at you, not quite looking at you. Her eyes are pale and clouded with cataracts. Welcome to Bloodsands. It is rare that an Estremor sets foot in these caverns. Her sightless eyes fix on you as she tilts her head. What brings you here, I wonder? What do you do here? I sell and maintain certain goods for the preservation of our order, and I perform some of our ritual sacrifices. Something more? How do these sacrifices work? Like any worthwhile ritual, it's too complex to explain in detail. It involves clotting the supplicant's essence, binding it into their life's blood, and drawing it into a container or vessel. Tell me about Bloodsands. This is the raw, bloody heart of Air Glenfath, where some come to give their essence back to the people. Their dry lips bend into a sardonic grin, where others seek a noble escape from their trials. The legacy of the builders to the tribes was not merely altar and stone, but a sense of community, and it is here that Glenfathens come to sacrifice what is most precious, even their own lives, to preserve it. Okay, so similar stuff as... Interesting. That could be useful. And I've got the money for it, so I may as well have some fun, right? Yeah, I need to turn up the brightness on my monitor. Or brightness in-game. One of those two. Probably both.
What do you suppose that bally thing is?
Hello. I thought Aloth had the better mechanics bonus, unless I took that away from him.
keeping an eye out.
Yeah? Mm-hmm.
Bonus only usable by monk, plus 2% raw damage.
Sure.
Ooh, that could be useful. But I'd rather not grab that unless I have reason to. Archdruid Reshton. Blood sacrifice chain. This looks like it's where I need to go. Okay, that's gonna make things fun. Let's finish looking around just for posterity's sake. And we'll keep going. Oh, and then we'll double back there.
I'll see what I can do. The work of a moment.
If the sacrifice transmutes blood into water and essence into blood of sacrifice waters. Let's see. Waters the souls of Eric Landfath. This place is creepy.
I wonder what this is.
Extra lockpicks? Okay. Random fish? Okay. Who are you? The petitioner before you is swaddled in loose-fitting robes. Her hair is greasy and matted. A glossy film of sweat and grime coats her exposed skin. She has the swollen features of pregnancy and several missing teeth in her big, grinning smile. As you approach, she slowly turns to you and examines you from head to toe, smiling the entire time. "Joyous day to you," she says. Despite coming from a wearied body, her voice sounds resonant and relaxed. "I am Naka, midwife and lorekeeper." Her hands run across the slight bulge in her belly. She rolls her head back and sighs a relaxed purr. "Are you feeling well?" "Flawless," she replies. "Apologies, I should be left to my meditation. The rite of strength is invigorating, almost overwhelming to the senses." She reaches down and cradles her belly in her hands and turns away. I'm assuming if I say I don't have time for this, I just walk away, but I'm curious. Yeah, that's what I thought. Now, let's really get the party started, right? Oh boy.
As your blood flows, so shall your essence. Your life's energy shall feed the soil, and your soul's energy shall enrich the community. This is by your own choosing, supplicant?
A dwarven man stands on a raised platform. Beneath him, an elf lies prone on a stone table. As you get closer, you hear the dwarf speak in a gravelly monotone. "Yes." The elf's voice is high but even. The dwarf grips a hatchet with both hands and raises it over his head. He throws his shoulders forward and swings the weapon into the elf's chest, connecting with a meaty thump. Blood gushes around the blade, and the sacrifice's screams rend the air. Alot's lips curl with disgust. "This is why I prefer the wand to the blade." Despite his earlier agreement, the elf thrashes atop the stone table, his torso arching wide, while his arms and legs remain tied in place. Meanwhile, the dwarf spreads his arms wide and allows blood to spatter his robes. When the elf is finally silent and still, the dwarf pulls his hatchet from the body and wipes it on his hem. Ugh. Okay. Yep, I have no qualms agreeing to kill this guy. The dwarf wears crimson robes that are stained and streaked with dark patches. His face is smooth but lacking youthful elasticity. It's as if the lines and wrinkles had been formed and erased many times over. He watches you with eyes like two black pits as he wipes his hatchet on his robes. "Hail, Estremor."
No one comes to Blood Sands without a purpose. What is yours?
"Who are you?"
I am the Archdruid of the Ethic Null. For centuries it has been my duty to guide our rituals and guard our knowledge. It is work that requires a certain resilience, but it is not without its benefits.
Reston's eerily smooth face is motionless as he watched you. You murdered a man right here. He lowers his head. Your simplistic morals do not apply here, Estremor. Murder does not enter into it.
It was a sacrifice, and one willingly entered into. The survival of all things depends on balance. Give and take.
The smooth skin at the corner of his mouth and his eyes wrinkle for one brief instant. This principle lies at the heart of all power. Expending something of value releases energy. Energy that can be channeled by those who know how. He tilts his head toward you. All Kith, whether they or not they care to admit it, practice this. We take the yields of the land and the flesh of beasts to live, and we give our blood and sweat to propagate the things we desire. According to Barath, you haven't been doing much giving, Reston. Then he can descend from his mighty pantheon and tell me himself. Actually, that's why I'm here.
Since when do the gods send mortals to collect? You're much too talkative to be the usher. This is the trouble with deities. They meddle in a world that they don't even inhabit. I hope they've promised you something better for your next life.
I hope so too. Alrighty. How do I want to play this? I haven't given you much in the way of AI, have I? I'm building up way too much in here.
Sure.
Oh dear, did I just make an enemy out of everyone here? I didn't just make an enemy out of everyone here, did I? I feel like I did.
There's a lesson to be taught.
Hey there. Sure.
Yeah?
Go trigger that.
I didn't think anything could down the hairy fella.
Sure.
Alright. Quickest way out? Wait, how did you guys die?
Yeah?
Lava
Beyond sea!
Okay, at this point, we don't need per rest abilities on. Also, what's Durance doing right there? That's a bad idea.
Need something?
Yeah, that should be fine.
Hey there.
Mow it.
Okay, now we want party AI back.
Beyond sea!
Hey there. Sure.
Beyond.
I feel like I was premature. I can't help but feel that I was premature in this. I'll make a save. And continue a conversation there. What the hell are you doing, Aloth? Alright. Still in my quick save, so I'll make something real quick here. I feel like there's a better way of dealing with this than just slaughtering everyone. Then again, I'm not sure what they're expecting though. I get the feeling it would be a much more difficult fight if I hadn't been over-leveled, because I know the main story
Sure.
is effectively present and accounted for. Oh crap. It's already happened, hasn't it? If I want to commit to it, I have to go to the autosave, don't I? Alright, I'm just gonna live with the consequences of my decision then. I'm just gonna live with the consequences. If I care enough, well, I can always go back into the save. Well, actually, you know what? I'll make an auto. I'll just take the you know what? I've got that save. I'll just make an autosave. Well, I'll just go use the autosave real quick to make something before I step in here. And honestly, this wouldn't necessarily be a bad time to call it anyway, because let's see, we've been going for a couple of hours, and as much fun as it is to throw my voice at stuff like this, it can be taxing. And I'm gonna need my voice intact to record tomorrow and for other purposes, so especially since I won't, so much so that I won't be able to play this game tomorrow. So I will just leave this here as a question of whether or not this really was the right call. And with any luck, it was. I'm really worried about what'll happen if I step out of here. I get the feeling I'm gonna have a lot of questions. Although now that I've done that, let's go to this. And actually, I'm curious to see what happens if I step out. As I think I'm gonna live with the consequences of my decision. By the looks of it, these aren't people that I really care to get a high reputation for anyway. But I do wonder what kind of effect this will have on the story. I do wonder.
Sure.
Overwhelmingly bad. Oh yeah. Obviously. Alright, let's get out of here. See what awaits us outside. There's probably going to be a lot of questions when I step outside, but... see how it turns out. See how it turns out. I wonder if... huh. Step outside and everything's effectively normal. Wonder if these two have anything to say.
What do you wish to know until we meet? What do you wish to know until we...
Huh, I guess I'm not getting anything for that. Okay, now which main are we on? Okay. Alrighty, so I believe that's everything that can be seen to within this section, so I guess next week, well, actually not next week, Saturday. Actually, wait, Saturday's Christmas. I might stream then. Why didn't that go? I don't know what I'll do. Well, let's see, I definitely know that I'm not going to be able to do this on Christmas Eve because I have obligations the night of. So I don't know about the rest of my time, though. So we will see. For now, then, we will call it there. Hopefully I did not just make a grave mistake pissing off them. But I suppose we shall see before too long. Either way, thank you all for watching. I hope this was entertaining. Well, this was as entertaining for you as it was for me, because, man, I've got all sorts of threads to follow up on now. This is going to be great. Alrighty, I look forward to seeing the results of my decisions and all sorts of insanity relating to that. So, with that in mind, thank you all for watching. I'll see you all next time.